Multiplying fractions practice test. Number 1, find the area of a rectangle with sides of lengths 2 1/3 inches and 1 4/5 inches. Area equals length times width. So I'm going to multiply 2 1/3 times 1 4/5. I'm going to set up the box to multiply these. Two 1/3 will be broken up into 2 whole and 1/3. And this will be 1 whole, and this is 4/5. So I'm going to multiply 2 times 1 first and put it in this box. It's going to be 2. Then I'm going to multiply 2 times 4/5. This is a whole number times a fraction, so I'm going to put a 1 underneath that. 2 times 4 is 8, and 1 times 5 is 5. I know it's an improper fraction, but I'm going to leave it like that until the very end, and I'll simplify all of my answers at the end. 1 times 1/3. This 1 whole needs to be turned into a fraction, so I'm going to put a line and then a 1 underneath it. 1 times 1 equals 1, and 1 times 3 equals 3. Now I'll multiply 1/3 times 4/5. One times 4 is 4, 3 times 5 is 15. Now that I've found the products of all of these fractions, I'm going to add them together. 2 whole plus 8/5 plus 1/3 plus 4/15. I can't add these fractions together because they do not have the same denominator. I'll look to see what number 5, 3, and 15 all have in common. I know they all have the number 15 in common, so I'm going to make all of the denominators be 15. So what do I do to get from 5 to 15? I multiply by 3. Do the same thing to the top. What do I do to get from 3 to 15? Multiply by 5. So do the same thing to the top. Now I can add these fractions together. I have 2 whole, and 24 plus 5 is 29. 29 plus 4 is 33. This is an improper fraction, so I'm going to turn it into a mixed number. Write it how I say it. 33 divided by 15. 2 times 15 is 30. I have 3 left over out of 15. So this is going to replace my improper fraction. So 2 whole plus 2 3/15 equals 4 whole and 3/15. Number 2. Brooke is making a curtain that has 4 sections, each of which is 2 2/7 feet wide. What is the width of the entire curtain? So I'm going to multiply 2 2/7 by 4 whole because it has 4 sections. So I'm going to use this box method to do it. So this would be 2 whole and 2/7 times 4 whole. 4 times 2 is 8, and then I need to multiply 4 times 2/7. This 4 is a whole number, so I can put a 1 underneath it. 4 times 2 is 8, and 1 times 7 is 7. So this box is 8/7. I'm going to put this together, and I get 8 plus 8/7 equals 8 and 8/7. This is an improper fraction, so I need to turn it into a mixed number. 8 divided by 7 equals 1 whole and 1/7. So this is going to replace my improper fraction. So now I have 8 whole plus 1 1/7 equals 9 1/7. Number 3, solve and put answer in simplest form. Because I'm multiplying a fraction by a fraction, I can just multiply the numerators. 2 times 3 equals 6. And then multiply the denominators. 3 times 8 equals 24. I can't leave it this way because it tells me I have to answer in simplest form. So I need to decide what number 6 and 24 both have in common. I know that number is 6. 6 divided by 6 is 1, and 24 divided by 6 is 4. So my final answer is 1/4. Number 4, solve and reduce final answer. Because it's a fraction by fraction, I can multiply my numerators. 6 times 1 is 6, and then my denominator, 7 times 4 is 28. But it says I have to reduce. That means you're putting it in the simplest form. So what will go into 6, that will also go into 28. I know that they're both even numbers, so I can start with that. And I get 3/14. Number 5. Gina, Monica, and Andrea each ate 1/4 of a pizza. How much should they eat all together? So they each ate 1/4, and I know that there's 1, 2, 3 people, so 1/4 times 3. This is a 3 whole. I need to turn it into fraction form so I can easily multiply. So I put in a 1 underneath it. This 3 divided by 1, that doesn't change the value. That is still worth 3. So 1 times 3 equals 3, and 4 times 1 equals 4. So they ate 3/4 of a pizza all together. Number 6, find the area of a square with a side length of 3 1/3 inches. Area equals length times width. So I know that the length is 3 1/3. And because this is a square, I know that all of the sides are equal. So the width is also going to be 3 1/3. I'm going to use the box model to solve the problem. So this is 3 whole, this is 1/3, this is 3 whole, and this is 1/3. So 3 times 3 equals 9. And now I need to multiply 1/3 times 3. I'm going to do that over here on this side. Since I'm multiplying a fraction by a whole number, I need to turn this whole number into a fraction. So I'll draw a line underneath it and put a 1. 3 times 3 is 3. And 1 times 3 is 3, and 3 times 1 is 3. So I have 3/3. I know that this is also equal to having 1 whole. Okay, now for this one, I'm multiplying 3 whole times 1/3. That's the same problem we just did, so I don't have to do the work again. And now I'm multiplying 1/3 times 1/3. 1 times 1 is 1, and 3 times 3 is 9. So I'm going to add all of these together. I have 9 whole, plus 1 whole, plus 1 whole, plus 1/9. 9 plus 1 is 10, plus 1 is 11, and we have a fraction of 1/9. So my final answer is 11 1/9 inches. Number 7, solve and simplify. I'm going to rewrite the problem so it's a little larger. I'm multiplying by a whole number. So I'm going to use this box model to solve the problem. Oops. I'll need to make 2 boxes because it's a mixed number times a whole number. So this will be worth 4, this will be worth 2/5, and this is 3 whole. 4 times 3 is 12, and now I need to do 2/5 times 3. I'm multiplying a fraction by a whole number, so I need to turn this whole number into fraction form. I'll draw a line and put a 1 underneath it. so that I can turn it into a fraction and easily multiply. 2 times 3 equals 6, and 5 times 1 equals 5. I'm going to add these two answers together, so I have 12 whole plus 6 fifths, which will give me 12 whole and 6 fifths. However, the 6 fifths is an improper fraction, so I need to turn it into a mixed number. I'm going to write it how I say it, 6 divided by 5. So that gives me 1 whole and 1 fifth. I'm going to replace the improper fraction with 1 whole and 1 fifth and add it to the 12 whole that I already have. That would give me a final answer of 13 whole and 1 fifth. Number 8. Alberto runs 2 1/6 miles each day. How many will he run in 5 days? So 2 1/6 multiplied by 5 whole days. So I'm going to use the box method for this. This is 2 whole and 1/6 multiplied by 5 whole. 2 times 5 is 10, and then 1/6 times 5. I'll do this to the side. This 5 is a whole number. I need to turn it into a fraction, so I'll put a line and a 1 underneath it. That doesn't change its value. 5 divided by 1 is still equal to 5 whole. So 1 times 5 equals 5, and 6 times 1 equals 6. I'm going to add these answers together. 10 whole plus 5/6 equals 10 and 5/6 miles. Number 9, solve and simplify. 1 times 2 equals 2, and 5 times 3 equals 15. I know that 15 is not an even number, so I can't divide 2 evenly into it. So this is already in its simplest form. Number 10, 3 times 1 equals 3, and 4 times 3 equals 12. And this says that I need to put it in its simplest form, and I know that I can divide 3 evenly into 3, and it will also evenly go into 12. So I'm left with an answer of 1/4. Number 11. I have a mixed number by a mixed number, so I'm going to have to use the box method to solve this problem. Here I have 1 whole and 3 fifths. Here I have 4 whole and 1/4. 1 times 4 equals 4. Now I need to do 1 times 1/4. I'm multiplying 1/4 by a whole number. I need to turn this whole number into a fraction so that I can easily multiply. And that 1 times 1 is 1, and 1 times 4 is 4. So the answer in this box is 1/4. Now I need to multiply 4 whole by 3 fifths. Again, I'm multiplying by a whole number, and it's easier to multiply a fraction by a fraction. So I'm going to put a 1 underneath this. 4 times 3 is 12, and 1 times 5 is 5. I know this is an improper fraction, but I'm just going to wait until the end and simplify everything one time. And now I have 3 fifths times 1/4. 3 times 1 is 3, and 5 times 4 is 20. I'm going to take all of these products and add them together. 4 whole plus 12 fifths plus 1/4 plus 3/20. I can't add all of them together because they do not have the same denominator. So I'm looking at the 5, 4, and 20, and I know that they all have 20 in common, so I'm going to make that be our denominator. Ask myself, what do I do to get from 5 to 20? And that is multiply by 4. What do I do to get from 4 to 20? Multiply by 5. Now I can add my numerators. 48 plus 5 is 53, plus 3 more is 56. So I have 56/20 this is an improper fraction. I need to turn it into a mixed number, so I'm going to write it how I say it. 56 divided by 20. I know that 2 times 20 gives me 40, and I'll have 16 left over out of 20. This is going to replace my improper fraction. So I have 4 whole added to 2 whole and 16/20. But this tells me I need to reduce it to simplest form. I know that 4 will go into both of these. So my final answer is 4 whole and 4/5. Okay, number 12. Bruce ate 3/4 of a pie each night for 3 nights. How much pie did he eat in all? So we have 3/4 times 3 whole. This is a whole number times a fraction. I know it's easier to solve fraction by fraction, so I'm going to turn this whole number into a fraction form by putting a line and the number 1 underneath it. This is now read 3 divided by 1, which still equals 3 whole, so I didn't change my value at all. 3 times 3 equals 9, and 4 times 1 equals 4. This is an improper fraction, so I'm going to turn it into a mixed number. 9 divided by 4. 1 times 4 is 4. Oh, I could do 2. Sorry. 2 times 4 is 8. 9 minus 8 is 1. So I have 2 whole and 1/4 pieces of pie in all. So question number 13 says to use the 4-square model to explain your mathematical thinking for number 12. So first thing I need to do is identify the question. So I'll say the question is asking me to determine how much pie Bruce ate in all. I know that he ate 3/4 of a pie for 3 nights. I could add 3/4 plus 3/4 plus 3/4, or I could simply multiply 3/4 times 3. I found he ate 9/4 pieces of pie. However, this is an improper fraction. I converted 9/4 to 2 1/4 pieces of pie Bruce had total for all 3/9.